Hey guys, it's Greg. Yesterday I told you about my new reading goal for 2019, which is that I want to read more books by female authors than by male. So today I want to talk to you about some books that will help with that goal. Some of them are about the topic of feminism in general. Some are more specifically about female anger, which is a topic within feminism. Some of these are books that are on my TBR pile, some are books that I have read, and some are books that I discovered while I was looking at female authors that will help me meet my new goal. Female anger is something I'm particularly interested within the umbrella of feminism. Basically, it's the idea that female anger and dissatisfaction is considered unacceptable, even though there are so many things in the world that are infuriating that women have to deal with every single day. As a man, it's something that I kind of want to understand more. As a gay man, I feel like I kind of have an idea, but as a white man, I have enough privilege that it's something I think I could definitely interact with more and get a better understanding of. And since that's the point behind the goal, I think this would be some particularly interesting books for me to look at. The first one is about female anger. I'm going to start with those books. It is a nonfiction book that was published last year, 2018. It is Good and Mad: The Revolutionary Power of Female Anger by Rebecca Traister. The cover pretty much lets you know what this is about, but basically it traces female anger from the suffragette movement to the current political climate and talks about ways in which female anger can explode and cause a lot of progress and then get tamped down and suppressed in order to prevent progress. I'm halfway through this book. It is really interesting so far. Some of it seems a little bit like an echo chamber to things that I've already been clued into, but there are other parts where it's like, oh yeah, that's a thing. Yes, and I think for those moments, it's a really good book. I recommend it. I can't see that in the last half of the book that it'll take a turn that would make me not recommend it. It's very good. I recommend it. Let me say recommend one more time. I want to shift gears a little bit now to talk about some novels that deal with female anger. The first one is timely because of the Golden Globes. If you saw Glenn Close's acceptance speech at the Golden Globes, you probably have a good idea what The Wife by Meg Wolitzer is about. If you didn't, it's about a wife who suppressed her own aspirations, particularly in terms of being a writer, in order to help her husband get his own career as a writer going. And over the years, she just never got back to her own career. She just kept lifting him up. And now, in the present, he has won the Nobel Prize for Literature, which acts as a catalyst for her to look back at what she had wanted in her life and the ways in which she suppressed everything. And that she recognizes that she has this rage and anger that's been building up, and it's starting to come out. There are parts of the book that I didn't really like all that much, but I really thought as a case study of female expectation and anger, it was very good. I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about the things I didn't like about the book, because I have a lot of other books that I want to talk about. Maybe I'll do a separate video about that in the future. The next is a book that really stood out to me when I read it, specifically because I thought the anger of the main character was very compelling. It is The Woman Upstairs by Claire Messud. I don't know how to pronounce that name. And there are flaws in this book as well, but I really thought the way Messud sustains that tone of anger throughout the whole book was just phenomenal. And it was really fascinating. I actually felt tense as I was reading it, which is probably the point. And the main character is furious because she feels like she's been overlooked, and she feels like she's not able to live the life that she wanted to be living in her life. And her anger just jumps right off the page in a very interesting way. So that's The Woman Upstairs by an author whose name I am not confident I can pronounce. Here's one from my TBR pile that I'm hoping to get to this year. It's The Power by Naomi Alderman. This book was one of the top 10 books of the year according to the New York Times in 2017. It's about a world in which teenage girls suddenly develop the ability to inflict intense pain and even death on other people, which upends the traditional power structure in the world. It has sounded really fascinating to me since it came out. It's been on my TBR pile since it came out. I'm really hoping that this new goal will help me bump it to the top and get to it in 2019. Those are the books about female anger. Now I'm going to shift gears to talk about more general feminist titles. For the record, I do want to say there are other nonfiction books about female anger other than Good and Mad. I focused on the fiction ones because as a man, I appreciate the way they put you inside the head of the character so you can kind of feel that anger. That's kind of my experience of it, but there are other nonfiction books out there that you can look for. Anyway, the first book generally about feminism is Shrill by Lindy West. This is a book that's been on my TBR pile for a while, so I'm really hoping to get to it this year. Basically, Lindy West talks about what society expects of women, which would be docility, compliance, and to be quiet. And it's about how Lindy West is none of those things. And it's also about how she went from being someone who was painfully shy to being an outspoken activist in the world, which is a fascinating progression. I think it would be really interesting to read about. Next is a classic feminist text, A Room of One's Own by Virginia Woolf. This is a book that blurs the line between fiction and nonfiction because essentially it's a long essay, but it also has a fictional narrator. So I'm counting it as a fiction book because I have 5 fiction books and 5 nonfiction books, but just know that it does blur the line a bit. In this book, Virginia Woolf argues the case that women deserve their place in the literary world, which had been, and unfortunately still is, still dominated by the patriarchy and men. The next one is the oldest book on this list because it's Lysistrata by Aristophanes. It's a classic ancient Greek play in which women refuse to give their husbands sex until their husbands agree to stop warring with each other. I read this in high school and I remember it being very funny and making some really astute comments that you wouldn't expect to still be relevant given how old the play is, but I really enjoyed it. I also thought Lysistrata was a very interesting play because it shows the ways in which women living within a patriarchy still find ways to exert power and authority and have agency in the world. So that angle is also very interesting. Next, let's look at a book by the OG modern feminist Gloria Steinem. It is Outrageous Acts and Everyday Rebellions. I am ashamed to admit I have never read a book by Gloria Steinem. I don't even know that I've read an article by her. So hopefully with this goal, I'm going to fix that. This book is a collection of essays that she published in 1983, which includes some of her most famous writing, including I Was a Playboy Bunny, I believe is the title, her famous essay about a time she went undercover as a Playboy Bunny. Duh. Anyway, I really feel like my experience with feminist writing is incomplete unless I get to this book. And moving right along, let's talk about a really slim book. It's slim because it is the text of a TED Talk that the author gave. It is We Should All Be Feminists by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. I am sorry if I did not pronounce that correctly. I'm actually on the hold list for this book at my library. I'm getting the audio version, which is only 45 minutes long. So there is no excuse for me not to do this in 2019. I've heard really good things about it, so that's even just another reason that I should definitely get to this in 2019. And finally, there are a lot of books by Roxane Gay that I want to read, and Untamed State is supposed to be a really good novel, although brutal. The one that I think best suits the purposes of this list is Bad Feminist, which is a collection of essays that are not only about the current state of feminism, but about Roxane Gay's evolution as a person and a figure within the feminist movement. It also talks a lot about how the feminist movement has interacted with people of color. And intersectionality is a big topic within the feminist movement right now. It's something that has not been paid attention to very well in the past, and hopefully we're seeing a course correction where we're talking about improving the life of women no matter what their race. And there you have it, 10 books, 5 fiction, 5 nonfiction, about the topic of feminism and female anger. If you have recommendations for me, please leave me a comment. I love recommendations, so you'd really be helping me out. I'll be back again tomorrow with another video, so if you're interested, hit subscribe. And until then, happy reading. Thank you for watching this video. If you liked what you saw, subscribe, or check out another video, or leave me a comment with something that you'd like me to talk about, or a recommendation. I really like those, as I said. And until then, thank you. I'll see you next time.